Brilliant. So we are live. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Online Events Made Simple Live this week. I'm Rianne, and I'm the Marketing and Events Manager from EventMind. And today we're joined with the lovely David Ogiste from Nobody's Cafe. David, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, yeah. So, as you said, Rianne, I'm David, founder of Nobody's Cafe. I have worked in the sort of events and experiential industry probably since I was about 16, started putting on my own nights at bars, and then that moved into nightclubs, which then moved into working more experiential with brands like Cadbury's, and been working with companies like Specsavers. Then I moved over to Dubai and was working with companies like PlayStation and Mercedes, and then back to London, where I worked with Pepsi and companies like Culture Trip, Shopify, and loads of different ones. And then eventually last year founded Nobody's Cafe. So that's where I am now. Been obviously building this, got a couple of co-founders that work alongside me, just building this. And yeah,
amazing. And who is Nobody's Cafe? I'm sure you're going to go on to that now, but the name is very broad. I mean, is it a cafe? Is it a business? For the people listening, I'm sure they might have heard or might not have heard.
It came to me. I went to an exhibit a couple of years ago. It was all about events and different events from around the world and different countries. It was at Barbican. So I went there, and there were all different events, and there was one in the 1920s that writers, creatives, artists, musicians would like come together, hold their own events, and sort of talk about ideas, share ideas, and elevate culture. And the place that they did that was called Café de Nadi, and that translates to this cafe. So that really inspired me to sort of name this company this, because we are more of an experiential collective than your standard agency. So the way that we work is pulling together the right freelancers and suppliers and other agencies to kind of build the team that's right for the client and realistically right for the project. So what we would look to do is find the right expertise and the right suppliers and agencies to build a collective, really, and say, for example, if you're targeting a sports audience, people that have done that type of work can come together and say, like, this is what we're doing. If you automotive, technology, and it just helps sort of bring that together. And Nobody's Cafe acts as the glue for that. We can manage that and then bringing those people together and then delivering for the client. So it was just the way I kind of wanted to move things. I felt it was something that had been in my mind for a couple of years, and then the pandemic hit. Obviously, a lot of things happened for a lot of us in the events and experiential industry. I know we've had some semi-good news this week, but I felt that there was a more streamlined but also a more collective and collaborative way of working together and allowing us to collaborate in ways that we kind of hadn't. The way it was sort of set up was just, you have your agency, you have the people inside that agency, and they deliver, and it wasn't always as flexible and easy to kind of deliver for the client. And also sometimes on the freelancer side, freelancers were working with different agencies and not necessarily getting to be on the projects they want to be on, not necessarily getting the rates they wanted to get. And so this is trying to be a bit more of a fairer way of, like, we're all what I like to call experiential creators. So that includes photographers, videographers, the creators, the designers. All of us together is what delivers. And I think over the past year as well, specifically with the pandemic, that is something that we're all now seeing. We were all in this sort of same boat together, and it's been a tough year for everyone. It's crazy that it's a year. This time last year, I was planning to be at South by Southwest, and then South by Southwest was no more. So it feels like
it's just been strange, isn't it? But that sounds like such a great company, and I think community building is such a big thing this past year, because kind of we're all in it together. Especially kind of creators and event organizers, especially that kind of sector, it's such a big thing. For people who might be listening who maybe want to get involved with this, how do they go about it? Is there like an application process, or?
So we've got on the website, there's a sort of join us. So just dropping details in there and we'll get back in touch. We're looking to start pulling, because like you said, community is such a big thing. We're looking to start pulling together some events for the community, some stuff on Clubhouse as well, if any of you signed up. I'm on that Clubhouse bandwagon at the moment. And yeah, just starting to develop in that. We're also looking to bring in sort of like mentorship programs and all of those things that we want to help the community grow. I feel like we've all been through a tough time, and I think we can grow together. I know for myself, I've been in this industry for a very long time at this point, and there's bits that I wish I could have had earlier on in my career, and that help and support that I'd like to be able to, Nobody's Cafe, to eventually help others as well. And I think one of the things is like we want to provide that support without feeling like you're trapped to an agency. So even if you work at another agency, you can come have the support with us and have that community. If you're a freelancer, you get the support that you might not feel like you get when you're a freelancer. So we are trying to sort of like build that community slowly and all work together and come together.
Yeah, it sounds so nice, and it is almost like having a support bubble, because like you said, a lot of freelancers, I know there's a lot of kind of freelance marketing managers or event organizers. It is hard to kind of feel that someone's there, so it's so nice that there is a network of you who can kind of grow and collaborate together. So I think it sounds great. And I know that you touched on, you're big on kind of the experiential and creative side. Why is this important to you? Is it something you have an interest in? I know that you said previously you worked in that kind of sector.
So I've kind of worked in it all my career, realistically. I did a few like temp jobs when I first got out of university, but even on the side of that, I was working in hospitality and nightclubs and pulling together those type of events. And the main thing for me is it's that bringing people together helps in so many ways. It helps the positive message for brands and that experience that they can put across, but it also helps the people. It gives them something to do, as we've found out in the last year how we feel, and there's none of them, and it gives them a place that they can learn something new, they can have those positive experiences. And the way I look at experiential and that type of marketing, that experience marketing, is if you were to look back on your life and the things that matter most to you in your life and the memories that matter most to you, it's very rare you're going to say, I saw this magazine advert and that is something that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. When you tell your kids stories of the things that you've been to, it's going to be those events, those experiences that touched you. So we bring people together. It might be that point where you meet your partner, that's your life partner. It might be that you hear the best band that you've ever heard. And for me, one of the best experiences was Michael Kiwanuka gig, where there was about 30 people in the room before he became really big. And that, for me, is going to stay with me forever. I can't say that about advertisement. I can't say that about sort of some digital marketing. That experience is really there. And so when you can link that experience with a brand, it's really, really powerful. And I've been happy and being able to work on some amazing campaigns.
Definitely. And I know you touched on Pepsi. I know Coca-Cola have a massive kind of thing on experiential, and they've done so many campaigns before where I don't know, you've had to go on someone's shoulders to be able to put money into like the thing. And I mean, there's so many ideas out there. So I think it's such a big thing. And especially with virtual events, I think people are struggling to know how to make it experiential and therefore how to make it engaging. So I think there's so much information out there now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the thing with virtual is the way I try to look at it is they are different experiences. And what happened when we first jumped into lockdown, a lot of people and a lot of event organizers were going, right, well, we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to throw it online. And that over time we're seeing doesn't really work, and it doesn't have that connection that we want to have with our audiences. And we've seen some successful things, we've seen some unsuccessful things. And I think one of the things that we always need to be thinking about is that experience. What is that actual experience that the audience is getting? And you can't just transfer that feeling of being in a room around people online, because it's so different. But that doesn't mean it can't still be a good experience. And I said I worked on PlayStation for a couple of years, and I think one of the things there is like in the gaming industry, people still get an experience from gaming. They still have a connection with gaming when they're on their headphones and speaking to someone.
Yeah.
But it's not trying to recreate an event. It is its own thing, and it lives its own sort of its own world. And I think that's how virtual can continue to succeed, is by going, this is virtual. Even when in real life comes back, you can still have your in real life elements.
Yeah, so true.
Sort of virtual digital elements, and they can work together, but it's about understanding your audience and what do they want, and making sure that you get that experience. So whether that's just even sending merchandise to them so that there's something that they can open, and there's you've got something laid out 1 to 5, for example, and each bit you reveal something else in that part.
That's a great idea.
Just as like you're going through that virtual experience, because it's that touch, that feel. If there's a bottle that you open and it has a smell that takes you back to something and enhances your sort of memories of something, those are all those little touches. And this is what we're going to start to see more of. We've seen bits of it, but I feel like that's what we're going to see more of with virtual in the coming sort of years, and it's interesting to see.
I completely agree with you there, and I completely agree with sending gifts. So, you know, this could be prior or pre-event or post-event, because if you think when you go to a typical event, whether it's a conference, an exhibition, you're always giving out, you know, little goodie bags, which, let's be honest, a lot of us do just chuck with kind of pens and stuff in. But you could send out kind of things before to make them feel engaged, and therefore make it experiential. And I think, is it Heston Blumenthal, the chef? He's got kind of like an experiential restaurant where he creates all of his work into like a beach, but it's actually all edible. And I mean, there's so much, and things like that, like you said, you would remember, opposed to a typical virtual event that you're attending that, you know, there's no connection or no community.
Yeah, definitely. And I think when we come to the in real life coming back, there's so many easy touch points for the experience, because the being out of your house, especially in that first year, is going to be an experience in itself, because we've all been locked up. We haven't been able to go to the things we've wanted to. So that is going to be the instant thing. And so with virtual, it is harder to come up with those bits, but they are possible if you do that. And I think some of the things that will thrive with virtual will be some of the conferences, like your Cannes Lions and your South by Southwest, where companies were paying a lot of money to travel to do the hotels. And I feel like those bits, but yeah, like you said, what's that goodie bag that people want to hold on to, but also will make them sort of go along the journey of, I'm at this event as well. I've been involved in a few things where I've been given sort of food packages, and the things that I'm eating, what's been eaten on screen as well, and like those just little touches just really help.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I know obviously we've touched on virtual. How have you found attending virtual? Because I think it's been kind of very 50-50, where people have enjoyed the virtual aspect of attending an event. I'm sure you've attended one, whether that's just a webinar or there's been quite a lot of virtual like music gigs. How have you found that yourself?
I think the thing for me is they've always been trying to be an in real life. A lot of the ones that I've done so far, I have done some gaming ones, which are a little bit different, but the ones where I'm watching a gig, there is always a part of me that feels like, imagine if I was there. And I saw Ryex the other day that did a stream, and I saw a Dermot Kennedy one a few weeks back, and they were, that one, the Dermot Kennedy one was in the Natural History Museum, sorry. And I was just kept on thinking, imagine if I was there watching that. And I think that's the difficult part of them. And there was nothing sent out for them. They were just like, this is it, you're watching it. And sometimes you can think, could that have just been on demand rather than watching it live? So is it a live event, or is it an on-demand thing? And so, and then I've been to ones where I have been sent things, and those have been the ones that I've enjoyed more. Because
definitely.
Like I've opened that box, like you were saying, even before the event, I'm a little bit like, oh, this is like, what's this? And there's things to feel, and it's generally been food, which is always great. So it's always great getting food. But there was one that I experienced called Complex Land. So that was Complex Network. They usually do Complex Con, and they did a version where you could walk around as a little avatar, and you went into little rooms, and that was a fun experience. And I think for all of this, for everyone out there at the moment, we're all just virtually anyway, we're all just trying loads of different things, and it's great to kind of see that evolution of we're trying things and we're seeing what works, and you've got to give credit to everyone that's tried something, because who knew literally a year ago this sort of week we were starting to hear the noise of something happening. It's in England, it's in America, and then within a month's time from sort of like a year ago, we were just like, what do we do? Events being cancelled. And the first part of it was just managing the events that have been cancelled. And then and so all of these people, and I've done virtual events, and it's like, it's all about learning and trying and just working with your audience and remembering the people that matter are the audience at the end of the day. Whoever they are, whatever your target audience is, they're the people that matter. So
yeah, definitely.
Experience for them.
Completely agree. And this kind of links in with my next question. So how did you get through the pandemic? I know we're kind of nearly towards the end. I don't want to jinx it, but we are nearly towards the end. And Molly Becken has just asked, do you have any tips for startup agencies who are trying to get going during COVID? I think there's so many companies that are trying to boost their sales, boost their audience, boost their network. How did you manage to get through COVID, or nearly through?
So for me, I'm in a similar position. I started during COVID, so I was employed, was made redundant, and I decided that I was going to take the step of starting Nobody's Cafe in that time. And the main thing that I've been doing is speaking to everybody you possibly can, whether they are in an agency and your friends, whether they're more senior, whether they're more junior, just having these conversations, because you don't know where things might lead. And I think I've had conversations with people, and then suddenly it's been like, all right, there's this, why don't you start looking into this and doing that? And before, when you kind of employed, you don't have those conversations, because you kind of feel like you've got your employer, and you might have some of them, but it's generally just focused around that employer, not necessarily around who you are as a founder and who your company is. And with that, it's a lot of fun, to be honest. It's a lot of fun that people get to meet, especially in the time that we've been in. It's really easy to have those conversations, because this stream that we're doing now, it takes however long to quickly click your Zoom button, put some half an hour in a diary. Whereas before the pandemic, that could have been right, I've got to jump on the central line and get over and have a coffee with someone. And then they're a little bit like, right, I've got to take an hour out of my day to leave my office and go have a coffee with this person. Now they're a bit like, right, just throw in half an hour, you have that quick conversation, and then you just keep that going. And that would be my main advice, is to just network and have as many conversations as you possibly can. You don't know where they might go.
That's a really good point. And just don't underestimate things like LinkedIn and Instagram. They're so big at the moment. And even just replying to someone's post. Once you've replied on LinkedIn to someone's post, you get notified when there's been other posts, and literally just connect with everyone else who's connecting and communicating with the same post. It seems such a minor thing, but you'd be so surprised. I would imagine half of my LinkedIn connections are probably people I've connected with as we've just commented on the same post or the same image. That's a really good point. And I think it is, like you said, during this time when we can't go for a coffee or a cocktail, use it to spend the time to just jump on a call, 5-minute call. It's so much easier than it's going to be in maybe a year's time, when people might want to meet up and you've got to get on the central line, like you said, which everyone hates. So use this time to just really make the most of virtual meetings, because they are a lot easier and they tend to be a lot quicker as well. So, you know, everyone can find 5 minutes here or there. So that's really good point, because moving on to sustainability, I know one of your values is sustainability, and linking in with the whole virtual meeting. We're doing this, we're not causing any fumes by jumping on the tube. How do you think virtual events is going to change sustainability for kind of the industry? Because so many events and campaigns and things are done now online, which means, you know, there's no transport needed, no hotels needed.
Yeah, I think Virtual is going to, it already has, and we already saw the sort of like numbers that we were hearing about the pollution going down last year and all of those elements across the globe. And I think it's such an important point. It's sustainability, climate change, and what we realistically need to be actioning to make those changes. And it's difficult in the events industry, experiential events industry, because you are generally creating something. Even when we were talking then, it was about sending things out. Even if you are doing virtual, it's about sending things out. So there is things to think about there, but it's a lot of the time it's about what you're using as well.
Yeah.
So it's about the things that you're sending out, like making sure that they're recycled and making sure that you're communicating that to your audience about what you need to do. Virtual does limit those elements, but if you actually dig into all the servers that are required for Zoom calls and all the servers that are required for emailing and all of these things that are needed, there is issues there. So even when we look at, oh, we're all virtual, there are still sustainability issues there, and the size of the Microsoft's base that they need to run all these things that we've got, or Google's or Facebook's and all of these things, they're all things we need to be thinking about on a large scale. So it's about what we're using. It's about how we're communicating that to our audience when we're speaking to them about making sure that they're as sustainable as possible. It's about when we do send things out, what can we send that's going to be reused, not what we send that's like, we've just done this as a marketing thing because we have to. I think we need to be responsible about what we make in the events industry, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic and during. We've made a lot of things that it's a little bit about, we made them because we thought we had to.
Yeah.
We need to be purposeful about the things that we create for any event, virtual or in real life, and say, is someone actually going to hold on to this beyond this moment? Are they going to reuse it? What's the purpose for it? And I think all of those things will really help the sustainability issue, but it is something that's really big. And it's something that we individually need to sort of like understand and be responsible for. And I know a lot of us put sort of like, well, it's big companies' responsibility and they need to do that. Yes, they do, but it's also on us as individuals. It's on us as event organisers, like how we communicate out to our audience and making sure we give our audience all the tools they possibly need and the education where we can to say, these bits are recycled, these bits aren't, please dispose of these differently, please dispose of this way, and all that bit. And yes, not having to travel and the transport and those bits. Instantly
Completely agree.
Not jumping on a plane instantly brings it down, but there are other elements that we do need to be thinking about, even when it is virtual.
Definitely. And I think the industry's taken a step in the right direction, although obviously it was for kind of unforeseen circumstances. But now many people, I do think, will consider, actually, do we need to kind of hire out the QE to London and everyone's going to have to travel there, get a hotel there, when we can just do it online? So I think there is a step in the right direction. And definitely, you know, if event organizers are listening, wanting to send out products or leaflets, just think leaflets, they can be sent via email. Is it worth sending the paper version, or would you rather just send a gift, like you said, that can be reused, or you know is going to be repurposed? So yeah, I completely agree with you there, and I think it's such a hot topic this year. I mean, sustainability has been kind of a cause for concern for years now, but this past year I think it's really ramped up, where people are starting to see the difference where people aren't traveling just because we haven't been able to.
Yeah, definitely. And you're like you just touched on there, it's something that we've kind of been forced into, this change, but it's one of those things that we have been forced into it, and now we need to go with what we've been forced into. And I think it's similar to sort of like the diversity conversations that we're now having. Those have been pushed forward, but now it's on us to continue that education and continue working together to help get there. And just jumping back to that purposeful thing, even if you do send a leaflet, or that you need to send information, give your audience the chance to say, right, we're going to put all our information on the back of a print which print do you want? Then you keep that print and you can put that up on the wall. You don't care what's on the back of it.
I love that idea.
But it's used and it's kept, and it's just such a simple little thing that stops it from being waste. It's actually something that you want to keep, and then you think, I got that from that event. So
that's a great idea.
And it's something that you can hold on to. And
I would definitely do that. I think that's such a good idea, actually, and I've never thought of that. So if we start seeing that, then that's all come from you. And David, we're coming up to the 30-minute mark. I don't know how it goes so quickly, but where do you see the future of events? And I guess more importantly, where do you see the future of Nobody's Cafe?
Like for us, it's just working with as many brands, as many creators as we possibly can, and delivering the best possible experiences, whether that's virtual, hybrid, or in real life. So that's the way we see ourselves, and like I said earlier, growing to help the community, not just helping Nobody's Cafe, but helping others grow, whether they're part of Nobody's Cafe or somewhere else. And then with the industry, I think we're in a really exciting time. I know it's been stressful. I know it's been, for some of us, it's been a really tough year. But we are now at what I believe is going to be sort of a boom. They say it's going to be the Roaring 20s over again. And it's funny because Nobody's Cafe originated from a name in the 20s, and here we are 100 years later, trying to do the same thing and trying to bring people together. But I feel like there's going to be a big boom. So it's for everyone to kind of be willing to learn, be willing to adapt. Try hybrid, try virtual, try in real life, but there are going to be so many opportunities that we can all work together and thrive through.
Yeah, definitely. We've just had one more question come through, so I'll just sneak this one in. Sammy Young said, do you think it's important for an event agency to have a unique selling point in such a large industry?
I think yes and no. I feel like you have to have a unique selling point, but you don't need to niche into working with certain people. As in, like, a lot of people say you need to niche. I don't necessarily agree with that side of things. I think you can be open to working with everyone. I think some of the uniqueness comes from the people, especially in the early days. It's the people inside there. It's the people that are running it. We can all come up with great names and websites. Like, it's so easy for anyone to do that now, but what you can't come up with and you can't just fake is who you are as a person. And I feel like that's a unique thing. So whoever your story, what your experiences are, and then when you're speaking to people, just be like, this is me, this is how I feel that things should be run. And if you can do that from the start, then in 10 years, you should have a company that's what you want it to be, rather than just going, this is our unique selling point based on something that might fit the industry right now. It might not fit it in 10 years, but you're always going to be yourself. So you can adapt and change and still you be unique. So that's definitely that's the way I look at that.
Yes, that's a really good way to end the podcast. So David, it's been so lovely speaking to you. Where can people find you, for people who maybe they didn't want to reach out on the live stream, maybe they want to reach out to you to find out more or have some questions?
So obviously get through on our website, which is www.nobodyscafe.com, and then LinkedIn is, like you were saying earlier, it's one of the best places. So just David Ogiste, connect with everyone, and if you send me a message, I'm definitely going to get back in touch. I feel like it's great to just communicate as much as we can.
Definitely. And for everyone listening on demand or live right now, thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you all next Wednesday.
Thanks for having me.